So, who will read?
Radha,
Yeah.
can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can.
Okay. Reading then. Morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning, Ragada.
Archana, do you start?
Yes, yes, I'm starting.
Okay, go ahead.
Exclusive concentration of consciousness force and the ignorance. That's a note from the Rig Veda. There is the shlok.
Yeah.
From the fire of energy of consciousness truth was born and the law of truth. From that, from the night, the flowing ocean of being. Rig Veda 10:121. I'll continue reading, Rangada.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Since Brahman is in the essentiality of its universal being, a unity and a multiplicity, aware of each other and in each other, and since in its reality it is something beyond the one and the many, containing both, aware of both, ignorance can only come about as a subordinate phenomena by some concentration of consciousness absorbed in a part knowledge or a part action of the being and excluding the rest from its awareness. There may be either a concentration of the one in itself to the exclusion of the many, or of the many in their own action to the exclusion of the all awareness of the one, or of the individual being in himself to the exclusion both of the one and the rest of the many, who are then to him separated units not included in his direct awareness. Or again, there may be or there may intervene at a certain point some general rule of exclusive concentration operative in all these.
Internet connection problem. Okay, I'll complete the sentence. Or again, there may be or there may intervene at a certain point some general rule of exclusive concentration operating in all these three directions. We'll do the para again. So, a concentration of separating active consciousness in a separating movement. But this takes place not in the true self, but in the force of active being in Prakriti. Okay, so we have already in the previous previous chapter, we have discussed this exclusive concentration. Okay, so at the highest level, he is talking of unity and multiplicity. That also we must have a clear idea. Unity is when everything is one. Okay? You are aware of everything as being essentially the same. Then there is the multiplicity. Unity is experienced at the highest level. Okay? In the supermind or in Satchidananda, you experience the oneness of things. Then in the cosmic consciousness, level 2, the transcendent is the oneness. The cosmos is both. You see oneness and you also see the many. But the many seems to be a little fuzzy and not very clear and not very true. They seem to be only images. Okay, it depends on whether you are in the cosmic consciousness or in the nirvana consciousness at the second level. If you are in the cosmic consciousness, the world is real. If you are in the nirvana consciousness or the Brahman consciousness only, then the world is unreal for you. Then you come down to the third level. There the exclusive concentration is only on the many. You don't see the oneness. Okay? Materially, I mean physically, we can think of it. Okay? We can think of the oneness. Best example, any species. Take any species. All the cats are only their catness. Okay? The characteristic of being a cat. That is the oneness. And the multiplicity is each cat is different in color, in shape, in form, in nature. So this is the oneness and the multiplicity. he's talking about. So with this background, we can start reading the para. Since Brahman is the impersonal divine. Okay, you see it in that way. The impersonal divine, okay, is in the essentiality of its universal being, a unity and a multiplicity, aware of each other and in each other. And since in its reality, it is something beyond the one and the many, containing both, aware of both, ignorance can only come about as a subordinate phenomenon by some concentration of consciousness absorbed in a part knowledge or a part action of the being and excluding the rest from its awareness. So it's a huge sentence, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines. We'll have to go phrase by phrase. Since Brahman is in the essentiality of its universal being, okay, the universal being is there, that's level 2 in the cosmos. When you are in the either the self or the Brahman consciousness or the cosmic consciousness, the essentially the Brahman is there. Okay, and in that unity, in that essentiality, both unity and multiplicity are aware of each other. Again, if you want, we can think of the triple status of the supermind. The triple status of the supermind, first of all, only the C is there. That is unity, union, oneness. Only the C, not moving at all. Okay? That's a transcendent. And not only not moving, but pure, transparent, absolutely mute, without any movement. That is the oneness. Then when you come down, it starts making waves. That is the second level of the supermind. The second level. Okay. The second level, the waves start forming. In other words, the division starts forming. The multiplicity starts. And each wave is just not even a proper wave. It's only a swell. The beginning of individuality starts at that level in the second status of the supermind. Okay? Then each wave, if a human being experiences that level, each wave, each human being recognizes that the individuality is there, but that individuality is very much a part of the oneness. In other words, if you are experiencing it, you will see, yes, I have a separate identity, but I am very much a part of the sea. The sea is 90% and I am only 10% of the sea. Then you come down into the third level of the supermind, and in the third level of the supermind, the individuality becomes more prominent than the sea. Okay? But because it is supermind, you can say in a certain sense that it is 50-50. Okay? But when you come down to the overmind, the multiplicity has become the main principle. And that's why it is a domain of the gods. Everything in the physical world is represented by a god. There are millions of gods. And these gods are semi-divine. Okay? They are not fully divine because they are exclusive. One will represent the sea, one will represent the wind, one will represent the air, like that. Okay? One will represent virtues also, generosity, okay? All these sort of things. So that's the overmind consciousness. So remember that. So now, with this background, we start reading again. Since Brahman is in the essentiality of its universal being, a unity and a multiplicity, aware of each other. We know that in level 2, unity and multiplicity are both seen, but the multiplicity is not so prominent. The unity is more prominent. Aware of each other and in each other, and since in its reality, it is something beyond the one and the many, this is essentiality. The essentiality is beyond the one and the many. Containing both, aware of both, ignorance can come only about as a subordinate phenomenon Because if both are there and you know, if you know the one and the many, you are aware of everything. And if you are aware of everything, then you are not ignorant. That's what I'm saying. So it comes about as a, but ignorance comes about as a subordinate phenomenon, a secondary phenomenon. By some concentration of consciousness absorbed in a part knowledge or a part action. This we gave an example of what is to understand this exclusive concentration. So, I am a mechanic. I usually give that example. It's easy to understand. I am a mechanic and I am repairing a motorcycle. It will come to me and I am trying to repair it. So my whole attention is on the motorcycle. What's wrong? I'm concentrating. In other words, all that I know about myself is gone into the background. Okay? I know where I live. I know I have parents. I know I have a brother. I know that he works here and there. Okay? All these type of things. I know I'm 23 years old. All these things go into the background. This is exclusive concentration. Okay? And exclusive concentration, as told you earlier, is a power of knowledge, and it produces ignorance. Therefore, ignorance is not a negative thing. It's a power of knowledge to concentrate on one particular aspect of anything, okay, on one particular aspect. So it's a subordinate action. In the middle, in the Brahman consciousness, you are aware of everything. So there cannot be any ignorance there. Ignorance is therefore coming at the lower levels. Okay. So, by some concentration of consciousness absorbed in a part knowledge or a part action, that also is there. Because knowledge is the chit and action is the shakti. So both, ignorance can come from both. And excluding the rest from its awareness. Clear? So ignorance is nothing but the exclusive concentration on purpose, forgetting your oneness, on purpose, because you want to concentrate on one particular thing. Okay? There may be either, I'm reading the next sentence, there may be either a concentration of the one in itself to the exclusion of the many, or of the many in their own action to the exclusion of an all-awareness of the one. So which are these two states? There may be a concentration of the one in itself, Chit Gana, okay, it's concentrating only on itself. This is a transcendent, okay. There may be either a concentration of the one in itself to the exclusion of the many. The world doesn't exist for the transcendent, okay. So the many is the world. Or of the many in their own action to the exclusion of the all-awareness of the one. In the physical world, we are aware of the many, but we are not aware of the one. So this is possible. All these things are possible. And there can be a middle stage when a little bit of both is there. Okay? There can be the many as well as the one. Okay? So it's an experience, not an understanding, not a mental understanding. Mental understanding, we understand that unity and multiplicity can be there. We know that very well. Just now we gave the example of cats, any species. The oneness is there as well as the multiplicity. But this is an experience. So the rest of the many are then to him separated units not included in his direct awareness. Or again, there may be or there may intervene. So he'll be very, very clear, he's saying. There may be or there may intervene also, okay, at a certain point, some general rule of exclusive concentration operative in all these three directions. So the three directions, only the one, the other one, a mixture of both, many and the one, and the last one, only the many. So these three directions, the concentration can take place in any of these three directions. Okay. A concentration of separated active consciousness in a separated movement. A concentration of separating active consciousness in a separated movement. There is a physical world. Okay? So, because you are separate from everybody. But this takes place not in the true self, but in the force of active being in Prakriti. Very clear, right? So there is no ignorance in the first status. In the transcendent, there is no ignorance. But the separation starts with the Prakriti level. That level 2. Okay, and level 3 also. Okay, so we read the next one. Yeah, tell me.
The Brahman in the first line.
Yeah.
Yeah, can that be like a supramental Brahman then?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think he's of the Brahman, and the Brahman is the essentiality is a Superman. You can say that.
Yes.
But remember one thing, okay, that these planes of consciousness are not absolutely exclusive. They can be seen as exclusive, but they can also be experienced as running into one another. You know, like rainbow colors. Right? In fact, in the physical world also, you can have the divine consciousness, no?
Yes.
So we must be very careful so how we divide these things. Everything is there everywhere, but it's also possible to see them as separate. So that flexibility in the mind we must have. So I think when he's talking of since Brahman in the essentiality of its universal being, he's talking of the supermind, I think. Okay? That was your question, right? Your internet is again. Archana's internet is entirely.
Yes, that was the question.
Okay. So we can read the next one.
Oh, you can hear me now?
Who will read?
Okay.
Smokey, your internet is dancing. So either Shilpa or Yasmin can read.
Rangada, I cannot read. I am having a madrasa. Either conjunctivitis in my both eyes.
Okay, then Yasmin, if she has a text, she can read. Otherwise, I will. Yasmin, are you there?
I am sorry, I don't have the book. Life Divine, I don't have.
Okay, then I will read. Okay, I will read. This hypothesis we adopt in preference to the others. Okay? Because there can be many hypotheses. Because none of the others taken by itself will hold or square with all the facts of existence. Integral Brahman cannot be in its integrality the source of ignorance. Okay? So everybody is saying that we are starting from suppositions. Okay? We are starting from hypothesis. So we have started. What is the hypothesis? That this consciousness the supreme consciousness can take three poises. It can take the poise of only oneness, it can take the poise of both together, and it can take the poise of only the many. Okay? So these are hypotheses he's starting from. So he's saying that this hypothesis we adopt in preference to the others. There can be many others, because none of the others taken by itself will hold or square with all the facts of existence. Integral Brahman cannot be in its integrality the source of the ignorance. Integral Brahman, okay, the supermind if you want, cannot be in its integrality the source of the ignorance, because it knows everything. Because its integrality is in its very nature, all consciousness. So there cannot be any ignorance in God, if you want to make it simple, God. The one cannot, in its integral conscious being, exclude the many from itself. It cannot exclude the many, because it's part of itself. Because the many would not then at all exist. Because the creation takes place in the supermind, in itself. Satchidananda creates the world in itself, not outside itself. There is nothing outside itself. That's why he's saying the many would not exist. At most, it can stand back somewhere in its consciousness from the cosmic play so as to enable a similar movement in the individual being. So, in the cosmic play also, what he is telling now is applicable both to the individual as well as to the universe. Okay? There is a standing back. In the individual, is very obvious. I stand back from my own body-mind life. I observe it. I get the self. I get the self, the experience of the self, the nirvana consciousness. I am looking at my own body-mind life. Okay, but I have withdrawn from there. The many in the integrality or in each self of the many cannot be really ignorant of the one or of others, because by the many we mean the same divine self in all, individualized indeed, but still one in conscious being with all in a single universality, and one too with the original and transcendent being. He's saying that although there are differences, essentially the Satchidananda is there everywhere. So there cannot be any or each self of the many cannot be really ignorant of the one or the other, because by the many we mean, what do you mean by the divine? By the many. In the physical world we mean stones, caterpillars, animals, trees, human beings. This is what we mean by the many. But in philosophy, when somebody is saying the many with an M cap, we mean the same divine self in all. Okay? So the same divine self. The divine is there in me, the divine is there in you, the divine is there in everyone, even in the stone. So that's what he is taking the many in that sense. The divine soul divides itself into the individual souls. They become the many. They are apparently many, but essentially one. Okay? This is what he said. The many cannot really be ignorant of the one or of others, because by the many we mean the same divine self. And if I am aware of my divine self, then I am sure to be aware of the divine and everybody else. So there cannot be ignorance. Individualized indeed, but still one in conscious being with all in a single universality, and one too with the original and transcendent being. So the individual soul, if it realizes itself, can have a cosmic consciousness in which it realizes the divine in everything, or it also can realize the divine in the transcendent. All this is possible, depending at which level you are. Okay. Ignorance is therefore not the natural character of the consciousness of the soul. So the soul is not in ignorance. So that's what he's saying. But we are not aware of the soul. So let's see what he has to say. The soul seems to forget itself. Okay? Ignorance is therefore not the word natural character. Okay? It is not inherent. The soul cannot be inherent. But it has the capacity to forget and concentrate exclusively. Then it becomes ignorant. Ignorance is therefore not the natural character of the conscious soul, even of the individual soul. Okay? It is the outcome of some particularizing action in the executive conscious force when it is absorbed in its works and forgetful of self and the total reality of the nature. This action cannot be that of the whole being or of the whole force of being. This exclusive concentration cannot be applicable to at all the levels. That's what he's saying. Cannot be at the whole being or the whole force of being. For the character of that completeness is whole consciousness and not partial consciousness. It must be a superficial or partial movement absorbed in a superficial or partial action of the consciousness. And the energy concentrated in its formation, oblivious of all else that is not included in the formation or not there overtly operated. Okay? So, what he is saying is that the human soul essentially cannot be ignorant. It can be engaged in exclusive concentration, but it has the capacity of throwing the ignorance out. Okay? Essentially, it is capable of total knowledge. But in the physical world, normally, each individual soul is in ignorance before it knows itself. Okay? So, ignorance is nature's purposeful oblivion. Note the word purposeful oblivion of the self and the all, leaving them aside, putting them behind herself in order to do solely what she has to do in some outer play of existence. Now, this we can explain with an image. Okay, then it becomes obvious. See, if you are aware of the whole, if you have to know the parts, then you have to concentrate. And concentration means exclusive concentration. I'll give you an easy example, then you'll understand. Take an astronaut. We use this image very often, but it's very useful. Take an astronaut. He is at home. Okay? What is he seeing? He's seeing his wife. He's seeing his children. He's seeing the room in which he's there. He comes out and he has to go today to the space station and go into the International Space Station. He has to go. Okay? So he is at home. He is having his breakfast. Even the breakfast on his table also is a menu. There is bread, there is butter, there is coffee. He's seeing the menu. Now he goes out of his house. He goes into the car and starts going to the space station. Okay, in India it is Sriharikota, and in America it is Cape Canaveral. So he goes there and sits in the rocket. And the rocket fires and is going up. Now, what does he start seeing? When the rocket starts going up, slowly, he loses sight of all the streets and all the houses. Then, suddenly at one particular level, let us say 25 miles above the earth, he sees the whole town. He is beginning to see the whole, the oneness. But he is forgetting to see the many. Okay? He goes up even more. Then he goes into the space station. Now what is he seeing? He's seeing the whole earth. He's seeing the one. Now, is he seeing the many? He can't. But if he wants to see the many, he has to concentrate. Okay? So, I'll tell you what I mean. I have often had this question in my mind, and I think it will be useful to you also. Let us say mother is in the consciousness of the many, of the one. Okay? Now, can someone who is in the consciousness of the one, in a divine consciousness, help me with my computer work or my motorcycle? My motorcycle has got spoiled, and I take it to a mechanic who is concentrating on it and knows what to do. But can mother tell me, in her consciousness of oneness, what I should do with the motorcycle to repair it? The answer is clearly yes. But you have to concentrate because you are seeing only the many. You are not seeing them. Sorry, you are seeing only the one, like the astronaut. You are not seeing the many. So if you want to see the many, the power is there, but you have to concentrate. And that is ignorance. When you concentrate, you are losing sight of everything else. That is ignorance. Okay? So essentially, the divine soul and the individual soul, they can be at any level they want in total knowledge, in part knowledge, and they can also be in ignorance if they choose to be. You can choose to be there. And the soul has chosen to be in ignorance, okay? But it is not its natural character. It's not its natural character. It has decided to concentrate only on the many. That is the nature of the ignorance. I hope it is clear. Okay. There's all total silence from everybody.
Yes, Rangada, it's very clear. It's very clear, and yeah, I think that's a great, great
I
metaphor.
think this image helps, I think.
Yes, yes, definitely, definitely.
So now we can go to the next part. So, okay, if your connection is good, you can read.
Am I audible now?
Pardon?
Am I audible now?
Yes, yes. Yes,
yes.
you're audible.
Yes, yes, I will read then.
Go ahead.
In the infinity of being and its infinite awareness, concentration of consciousness, tapas, is always present as an inherent power of consciousness force. It is a self-held or self-gathered dwelling of the eternal awareness in itself and on itself or on its object. But the object is always in some way itself, its own being, or a manifestation and movement of its being. The concentration may be essential. It may be even a soul indwelling or an entire absorption in the essence of its own being, a luminous or else a self-oblivious self-immersion. Or it may be an integral or else a total multiple or a part multiple concentration. Or it may be a single separative regard on one field of its being or in one center, or an absorption in one objective form of its self-existence. The first, the essential, is at one end, the superconscious silence, and at the other end, the inconscious. The second, the integral, is the total consciousness of Satchidananda, the supramental concentration. The third, the multiple, is the method of the totalizing or global overmental awareness. The fourth, the separative, is the characteristic nature of the ignorance. The supreme integrality of the absolute holds all these states or powers of its self-vision.
Internet problem. Okay. Oh, physics have lost the internet. So he is talking about 4 levels. Okay. The supreme integrality of the absolute holds all these states or powers of his consciousness together as a single indivisible being, looking at all itself in manifestation, looking at all, sorry, I read that wrong. Okay. Looking at all itself in manifestation with a simultaneous self-vision. So, it's a little complicated, okay, and we'll try to look at this carefully. Today is Wednesday, and we have got 7 minutes left. So, I think what we will do, we will see these. Okay, let's see even today. Let's see what he is saying. The 4 movements, let us try and identify them. The first, okay, or rather I'll go back to one earlier sentence, or it may be an integral or else a total multiple or part multiple concentration. Or it may be a single separated regard on one field of its being or movement. I think we'll leave it for tomorrow because we have to start from the beginning. And Archana Dee doesn't have the internet, looks like, and Smokey also is dancing.
I'm on. Actually, a phone call came in between and the connection got cut. So that's,
I know. So we are going to do this para tomorrow. Okay. In the infinity of being and its infinite awareness. Basically, what Srimati is saying is that neither God is ignorant nor the individual soul is ignorant. Okay, but it chooses to come down to the physical world in darkness. Now, why does it do that is a question. But as we have decided, it's an adventure. Okay, it's an adventure. The soul divides, comes down into the, and it's a game, Leela, that it is playing. This is one explanation. But the total truth is so complex that if you give a one-sided explanation, then the Leela is the most not at all satisfying solution. If you say everything is Leela and you tell that to a man who is terminally ill with cancer, what is he going to do? He's going to murder you. What is the Leela? So you say, but it helps, okay, to understand in certain ways. Okay? So the total truth you can understand only when you have many, many theories and many, many examples. But one example is there, it satisfies to a certain extent, but it raises also many other questions. So essentially what Sendra is saying, neither God is ignorant, nor is the individual soul ignorant. But it can play, it can pretend to be ignorant. Okay? It's exactly like another image is there which Shankara uses and others also use. It's like the actor on the stage. Okay? He is, let us say, he is Vishnu. Okay? Vishnu Lalit. Okay? And he knows that he is Vishnu Lalit. He is at the transcendent level. But he decides that he has to play the part of, let us say, Duryodhana. Okay? And he comes down to the stage and identifies himself fully with Duryodhana. He is doing that on purpose. He is doing that with full consciousness of what I'm doing. And he becomes Duryodhana on the stage. As soon as the stage play ends, he goes back and he is now again Vishnu Lalit. Okay? So, Vishnu Lalit is not in ignorance. He can choose to be in ignorance. Why he does that? That again we come back to the idea of the Leela. Okay? But that raises again other questions. And then we have to answer those questions. That's why studying the Advaita philosophy, one explanation and one example is not enough. Okay? You have to go on seeing all the different aspects. Then it starts becoming clear. So anyway, we'll try to do what essentially it comes down to this, that the ignorance is not a permanent state. It can be conquered. And it's every soul has got the capacity to do that. And that is the whole purpose of the evolution. Evolution at the cosmic level, evolution at the individual level. When you get dissatisfied, the soul wakes up and slowly wakes up through many, many lives. And when it wakes up sufficiently, it becomes completely dissatisfied with its own condition of imperfection and also the imperfection of the physical world. You see disease, you see death, you see ignorance, you see perversion, you see falsehood, and you don't like it. Then you start trying to find a solution to it. And many, many have given the solution to it. And you follow that. That's when your yogic journey starts. Okay? So we'll do this tomorrow in detail. Look at each one. He's talking of 4 levels of ignorance and what that is. So today we stop. There are only 2 minutes. But remember that the ignorance is not something permanent. It seems to be permanent, and that's why the ascetic says, oh, imperfection and ignorance is permanent. I want to get out of it. My consciousness, why should I remain in a plane of consciousness which is permanently ignorant? I don't want that. But here comes Srivastava and says, your interpretation of permanency is wrong. There is an evolution, don't forget. Slowly, slowly, you are rising out of inconscience by evolution. It's a game that is being played. The game can end quite quickly for the individual, but for the cosmos, the game will go on very slowly. It will unveil itself. Slowly, slowly in steps. Okay? So, we stop here. Okay. Everybody, we'll do this tomorrow. in the infinity of being.